the digital asset market structure bill, that it opens up a vulnerability for consumers to be harmed. And I was wondering if you had a view on that, and is there any concern that we should have with the way the bill is currently structured?
So if I can speak about the field itself rather than speaking about the bill, but it's a common practice in the crypto field right now to commingle that which we don't allow commingled elsewhere. And commingling what you might think of as an exchange, like the New York Stock Exchange, with brokers, you can think of your own individual brokers, and maybe a hedge fund or even a high-frequency trading shop, and even a clearinghouse, and maybe even some bank-like functions. And it's a recipe that has not led to good results in the crypto field and a lot of investors being harmed. So if Congress did anything, it would be separating out those conflicts.
Thank you.
Time's expired.
My time has expired. I yield back,
From
Mr.
South
Chairman.
Carolina is recognized for Mr. Norman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gensler, are you aware of Prometheum?
I'm sorry, I
Are
didn't
you
hear the
aware of Prometheum company?
a company. I have heard of that company. Yes, sir.
Well, they testified before us back on June 13th. The CEO and founder of Prometheum testified before us that, and he assured us that only 20% of the company is owned by China. Does that concern you at all? And I assume you know they're a broker-dealer, special purpose broker-dealer for digital asset securities.
Any registrant in our markets has to comply with our laws, and whether they're partially owned or wholly owned by China.
But I'm saying in your position, does that concern you? 20% owned by China, and the information that could be easily transferred to China, which is an enemy of this country?
Oh, sorry. What's really important, regardless of whether it's China or any other country, that our capital markets, it's a privilege to be in our capital markets, and that those companies comply with our laws, whether it's the company you mentioned or any other company controlled or partially owned by Chinese entities.
May comply with the laws, but still the threat is there that information is being shared on investors. We sent a letter to you back September 25th, Senator Tuberville and I. You know how long it took us to get this reply?
I'm sorry, September 25th, yesterday? No, I'm sorry.
Of 23, yes. Yesterday, yes, that's right. We did it, sent it 10 weeks earlier. Took 10 weeks, is my point, to get this back. And what we ask you to do is look into that, into the China connection, which is a serious concern, should be of yours and your role. Basically, and I'm not going to read it, this is just a non-response. I mean, it's just words. And if what's concerning to me is if somebody in your role is just shuffling paper, it's a danger to this country.
There are a number of broker-dealers in our country that have affiliation with China. You named one. It's not the only one. I think your letter and some other letters from the senator named some of the others. And those broker-dealers have to comply with our laws. They actually have to, under our laws, have their books and records here so they can be inspected and looked at by FINRA, which you mentioned.
Does China go by the rules? I mean, does communist China go by the rules?
They have a different set of laws there. They have a different government. But I'm saying if you're here in the U.S., they have to comply.
Here's what we would ask. I mean, 10 weeks to get this, and to get this letter, was it 2 paragraphs, is really an insult. Are you familiar with Metamaterials?
Yes, I am, sir. Not very deeply, but it is a company that I've heard of.
Do you know what the aggregate shares are, audited shares, count of MMTLP is, as of close of market on December 8th, 22?
I don't know. I know that it's a company that then exchanged into something called NextBridge, I believe.
Okay. Does SEC have this information on the audited shares?
It may be a matter of public record. I mean, it was a company that it did an exchange and became another company.
We'll try writing you another letter, and if you would look into it, we would appreciate that.
Thank you.
You know, as been said earlier, the arbitrary rulemaking that is occurring under your rule on theoretical assumptions is really getting our constituents that are involved in the financial markets very upset. And considering you're going way past the boundaries that need to be going. And I think you've made SEC a crusader of rulemaking by enforcement rather than modernizing the regulatory guidance. This isn't something new that you've heard. My only request is that, you know, you can blame it on staff turnover, you can blame it on a lot of things, but that you would prioritize this rulemaking and actually we'd make the case for reductions if you would even consider something. I yield back.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the ranking member as well. And of course, I'm grateful to the secretary for appearing today. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to work with you. Mr. Secretary,
I'm honored to have another title, but it's just Chair or Gary.
Chair, okay, all right. Mr. Chairman, excuse me. The traditional services of an exchange, if you perform those, broker, clearing agency, these are the kinds of things that should be registered. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, if you're a broker in America, if you're a dealer, an exchange, not only registered, but then comply with the laws so that the public is protected.
Mm. And in your capacity as a chairman, if you are of the opinion that these things are not taking place, are you duty bound to do what is within your authority to protect the public?
Yes, and we end up being a cop on the beat, and it takes a 5-member commission, but sometimes we bring enforcement actions if people are not properly complying with the laws and registering.
Mm. Public Citizen has indicated that crypto amounts to a giant Ponzi scheme whose victims disproportionately include low and moderate income individuals as well as people of color. I'm concerned about that. I appreciate your being the cop on the beat. I want to protect people from what may be a Ponzi scheme. There are different opinions about this, but what are some of the consequences of having a poorly regulated digital currency?
Well, the crypto token field there's been billions of dollars of losses, and in fact, there's some studies that suggest that lower income communities and communities of color have lost more, and that it's not been to their advantage at all to be investing in these assets on average. Really, it's a matter of the American public can decide what investment risks they want to take, but they should have the full and truthful disclosure about those investments if they're under the securities laws, and then the trading platforms themselves should comply with the laws and not be entering into a bunch of conflicted services where they sometimes are trading against their customers on those exchanges.
Mm-hmm. Do you consider the dollar, the American dollar, an effective, efficient digital currency?
Well, the American dollar, which is, you know, the sort of the leading currency around the globe, most of it is digital. I mean, we buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks, or we get paid, or we pay our rent digitally. Occasionally, we still use paper or cash.
And do you believe that properly regulated, we can have digital currencies that won't amount to a Ponzi scheme?
Well, I think the U.S. dollar is quite strong, and I think the U.S. dollar, because we use it digitally already, is a form of a digital dollar. Crypto tokens are really quite something different, sir. They're not a currency. They don't, I mean, this is going back into economic history, but they don't fulfill the three functions of a currency, of a store of value, a unit of account, a medium of exchange. They might, maybe in another day, but not in 2023, frankly.
And our failure to act, or your failure, because you're really the person who's in the hot seat, as it were, our failure to act can cause a lot of harm to a lot of people, as we have seen with one circumstance. And I thank you for what you're doing to prevent that harm. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back.
Gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Stiles, recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Gensler, for being here with us today. This summer, I asked Director Girding about the SEC staff, about whether or not the SEC staff conducted legal analysis of shareholder proposals. And Director Girding seemed to have a tough time answering the question, and I walked away understanding that the SEC does not conduct much, if any, legal analysis of a shareholder proposal. That's troubling to me, because I think that would be one of the roles of the SEC, in particular, following the SEC's review of the particular Traveler shareholder proposal, the racial equity audit, that I think could have driven that company to be forced to engage in illegal behavior. And so asking you if you could give me a clear answer, does the SEC conduct legal analysis of shareholder proposals?
You know, in preparation for the hearing, I watched your testimony between Director Girding and you. I think it is part, and I don't do this on a day-to-day basis, but I think when staff looks at, sometimes companies come in and ask the staff's opinion on things. Staff does look at, one of the components they look at is the legal.
So not every time. So when you say sometime, I think it's just important for us to understand whether or not we should make that explicit. I think it should be explicit. So sometimes the SEC looks at whether or not shareholder proposal is legal, and sometimes they do not review whether or not shareholder proposal is legal.
As I understand it, I believe it's one of the components of the review, but I'd be glad to have staff work with your staff and get you the details of the.
I'd like you to. I mean, the fact that you reviewed it in advance of this committee hearing, which I appreciate the amount of time and effort you put into preparing for a hearing, but you don't have an answer specifically whether or not the SEC conducts a legal review, not even a legal opinion, but just a legal review on each shareholder proposal, to me, would be a baseline review for the SEC.
I'm here saying I believe that it's part of the review, but I don't know if it's on every shareholder proposal, because it depends on the nature of the shareholder proposal, of course.
Okay. I'd like you to come back with that information about the process in which you review shareholder proposals in light of probably two key things. One is we brought in the two largest proxy advisors, ISS and Glass Lewis, and they specifically said on the record that they do not conduct a review for legality. They instead rely upon the SEC's analysis for legality. On the record in this committee room, your director and now you kind of go back and forth as to how you conduct that legal review. I think it's really important for us as policymakers to understand whether or not anyone, the SEC or proxy advisors, which may not be under, we can get to how they're registered with the SEC, but who's conducting the legal review, because it has a significant impact on companies. And if we build upon that and we look at the Staff Legal Bulletin 14L, we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of shareholder proposals. we're seeing more focused on social and political concerns. And I go back and look at the underlying language of that legal staff bulletin, saying that they would consider whether or not a proposal concerns a matter of widespread public debate. Can you define widespread public debate?
I think, sir, that it's really, and this goes back all the way back to the 1960s of shareholder proposals, that investors can make shareholder proposals on the term you used, on wide scale.
Widespread public debate is your
Debate.
legal staff bulletin.
And that goes back many decades.
But can you define it? I understand there's a history to it, I understand, but legal staff bulletin came out under your chairmanship. Can you define the term widespread public debate?
And the staff does, when asked, give their informal advice, but ultimately it's between the company and the investors.
Understood, but don't you think that's of concern that you can't define what widespread public debate is when your staff bulletin says that that's a point of review for shareholder proposals? I'll offer you that it concerns me, in particular in light of the dramatic increase in the number of shareholder proposals we've seen that are based on social and political objectives rather than governance of the nation's largest companies. See if I can get this in really briefly. We've discussed your use of email. You've had an aggressive enforcement campaign on off-channel communications for financial firms. Have you used anything other than official SEC resources to conduct your government business?
No, I comply with the laws, but I also, if somebody sends me an email, then I forward it into the SEC.
Thank you very much for your
Financial services sector and the Biden administration have made harmonization of cyber incident reporting a top priority. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security Cyber Incident Reporting Council's recently recommended the federal government coordinate among themselves to reduce the burden on the reporting entity. But instead of reducing the burden, the SEC has finalized rules that CERC has called duplicative cross-sector reporting requirements and that overlap with congressionally mandated Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act, the CIRCIA. Given the council's designation, why didn't the SEC harmonize its cybersecurity disclosure requirements with existing regulations, and more importantly, wait until the Department of Homeland Security and CISAs developed the rulemaking under the recent signed into law CIRCIA?
One, we've had good discussions with the Department of Homeland Security, but we finalized the corporate disclosure piece because it was important for the public investors to know if there had been a material cyber breach.
Is it more important? Is investor information more important than Homeland Security? Well, and I asked that question because the reason we want to harmonize, and the reason we as a Congress have said harmonize, and the reason the Biden administration has said harmonize these incident reporting rules is because we've heard from the private sector that their cyber employees are spending 40 to 50% of their time, and we've spoken about this before, on complying with cyber regulations, not just yours, but with all sorts of different cyber regulations. So and we talked about this last time you were here, specifically the rule that was just finalized in July, and you said at that time, you've been having good discussions with DHS. But again, this rule came out and DHS said, I quote, that this current rule is duplicative cross-sector reporting. It's a duplicative cross-sector reporting requirement. So even though you've had good conversations, I guess they didn't lead anywhere because you still came out with the rule.
Actually, they did, because it's only reporting to the public if it's a material cyber event. It's 4 business days, which actually is longer than the CIRCIA 72 hours. And thirdly, has important considerations in there that if the Department of Justice thinks for national security or public safety it should be delayed, it will be delayed.
It is longer. 4 days is longer, but within a material breach, there's different requirements there. So I have to ask, because there's also a concern that you have companies that are reporting a possible material cybersecurity breach that might not have been able to fix that breach. And if they're publicly reporting it, it could, one, put that company at further risk, or two, put other companies who are using the same system and the same backdoor can be found in their system. We just saw over the summer a company, there was an attack on a company. They announced this attack before the patch was released, and you saw other companies and 3 federal agencies get hacked under the same vulnerability. So I'm concerned that having this public reporting before the breach is fixed, before the patch is fixed, is going to cause more harm than good. And I'm not saying don't regulate cybersecurity. I think it's very important. I just think when our goal is harmonization, when the Biden administration's goal is harmonization, when everybody is saying harmonization, having these rules come out that are just going to be duplicative and cause more harm on the companies that are supposed to be protecting information is not a great idea. I'm running out of time, so I do want to move on to something else. Between 2019 and 2022, the annual cost of operating a consolidated audit trail, or CAT, increased by 900%. In March, CAT unveiled a 2023 budget exceeding $223 million, which is 10% of the SEC's entire budget. The SEC recently approved a funding model that would pass nearly all these costs on to market participants. What is the SEC doing to control the costs of CAT? I understand SROs control and operate them, or own and operate it, but it's under your umbrella. I need to know what you're doing to control those costs, and if you would support moving CAT onto the SEC's budget.
I don't know, Mr. Chair, what you're going to tell me.
If the gentleman would respond in written form to the gentleman's question. And I appreciate the gentleman's leadership in cybersecurity issues, the WIG-WIM protocols, and the work he's put in over the years on those policies. He's worked in other committees. So,
and WIG-WIM is very important.
We'll now recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Lawler, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Gensler, you have embarked on a rapid and extensive campaign to reform every facet of our markets. It is evident that your rules will significantly change our markets. For example, your equity market structure rules will impact all retail investors, encompassing over 228 million retail accounts. The swing pricing rule will have implications for every mutual fund involving over 100 million American investors. The climate rule imposes new costs on every public company. The predictive analytics rule will encompass virtually every type of technology. The private funds rule fundamentally reshapes the regulation of private institutions in a potentially unlawful manner. The pace and scope of your rules is unprecedented. Have you taken the time to do a comprehensive economic analysis examining the of all of these rulemakings on the markets and broader economy?
Representative Lawler, actually, prior administrations and
that's not
law.
Respectfully, we can disagree with that, and that's not what I asked you. I asked you a very specific question. Have you taken the time to do a comprehensive economic analysis, examine the cumulative impact of all of these rulemakings on the markets and the broader economy? Yes or no?
On each of the rules, we do a robust economic analysis, and then if another rule is finalized, we incorporate that, and we take into consideration that interaction in the possible further rulemaking and adjust the economic baselines.
So you are saying, for the record, that you have taken the time to do comprehensive economic analysis, examine the cumulative impact of all of these rulemakings on the market and the broader economy, yes or no?
For the record, what we do is we take into consideration, as and if a rule is finalized, the interaction with other rules.
Right.
Because it changes what's called the economic baseline.
Yes. So have you done the cumulative impact? Have you studied that? Have you done an economic analysis on all of it?
We do them rule by rule individually, and also the interaction as it relates to other rules If we were to finalize a rule, then we take that in consideration. And
So can you explain your engagement with market participants before putting out significant rule proposals? Are you holding public roundtables?
We meet with the public extensively before the equity market rules. We had numerous meetings from when I came on in the summer of 2021 all the way through December of 22.
Chair Gensler, California Governor Newsom recently confirmed his intention to sign 2 bills mandating climate disclosure into law. You mentioned to the press last week that the SEC staff is, quote, going to take a look if it were to become law because it may change some of the economic baseline for our rule, end quote. It's evident that the law will indeed alter the economics of your rule. So can you make a commitment to allowing the public an opportunity to provide feedback on the Commission's updated economic analysis before finalizing the rule?
We take in consideration public comment. We've had 16,000 comments, a lot of comments on the economics, and we often will adopt based on those comments.
No. What I'm asking you is, based on the reevaluation, based on the potential change in law, will you commit to allowing the public an opportunity to provide feedback on the Commission's updated economic analysis before finalizing the rule?
I would say this: we're compelled. This is an important thing. California.
It's a pretty straightforward question. Will you allow the public to comment on the updated economic analysis before finalizing the rule? Yes or no?
We would put it. We would if we finalize a rule, it would be part of that finalized rule.
Okay. I know you like to obfuscate, but I'm honestly asking you a very straightforward question.
I understand.
Can you commit?
Where you're headed.
Can you commit?
No. The answer
So you
is
won't
no.
commit. Thank you. At least you answered the question. Thank you. I want to touch on another factor here. The SEC recently proposed amendments to expand and update regulation systems compliance and integrity. The proposal would expand the scope of SCI entities to include certain registered broker-dealers for the first time. Feedback from market participants on this proposal suggests that the actual costs for this proposal are in the billions of dollars as a result of the SEC attempting to micromanage the technology setup of individual firms, yet these enormous compliance costs are conveniently absent from the SEC's cost-benefit analysis. Why did the Commission fail to acknowledge these costs in its economic analysis?
Gentleman's time has expired. If the chair will respond in written form.
Thank you.
We'll now go to the gentleman from Iowa, Mr. Nunn, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Gensler, thank you and welcome back to this committee. I know each time we get to have a lot of questions on this. Last time we spoke, I addressed swing pricing and hard close proposals with you. I also want to reemphasize here the devastating impact that's had on many of my hardworking constituents, from their retirement plans, their 401ks, my nurses with 457 plans, my teachers with 403B plans. I think you get the gist of where we're going with this. As you are well aware, after this morning's rule, I believe it needs to be withdrawn, and I look forward to your team's response to both Chairwoman Wagner and Ranking Member Sherman on the letter that we signed on to and are still waiting to hear back on. Look, I want to talk specifically here about the ag and small business communities that I represent. The extra regulations that the SEC is potentially proposing in this regulation under the guise of consumer protection, it's going to add $6 billion in increased annualized costs to the industry, an additional 6 million compliance hours, many of these being small family farms and medium Main Street businesses. I hope you appreciate this as a tremendous impact on my constituents back home. Along with 4 other members of the Ag Committee on which I serve, we have signed a letter here moving forward a conversation, which brings me to my question on the February 15th proposal rulemaking on safeguarding client assets aimed at reshaping custody assets. As you know, we have worked hard in your former role with CFTC on how this can be successful. But dozens of trade groups have signed up and identified that this rulemaking would represent trillions of dollars of assets that our constituents back home face. Both of these letters, Mr. Chair, highlight significant errors with the proposed rulemaking, and I'm going to begin this conversation by asking you consider withdrawing it until these things get fixed. Your definitions of custody and asset would expand so greatly they would encompass derivatives and future markets that have been overseen by the CFTC, your former organization, for decades. So with these bipartisan letters specifically, I believe that they would upend our markets overseen by the CFTC, eroding their essential risk management functions and putting our nation's farmers and producers at risk. Now, Chairman Gensler, in your 432-page proposal on economic analysis, do you know how many times agriculture was mentioned as part of this review?
I don't recall, but I suspect you're going to let me know.
Would it surprise you to know not once? In fact, it was only mentioned as a subcategory within a footnote. Clearly, this is concerning, particularly for my farming constituents, but for entire economies built around this, something the CFTC has been doing for decades. So, Chair Gensler, earlier you answered Representative Lucas' question. Has there been any coordination with the SEC and the CFTC on this issue?
Yes, we've been in dialogue both prior to the proposal and subsequent to the proposal, and I think that...
Can I get some specifics on that? When did you send a request over to the CFTC for this coordination? The day of before the proposal? A week before the proposal? After the proposal was already out?
Representative, it usually just is staff-to-staff dialogue, so it's...
Great. I look forward for your staff providing me the date in which you actually asked for this information from the CFTC. Did the CFTC provide you with any recommendations on your rulemaking?
We engage with multiple federal regulators on this role, and we'll continue to do that because we benefit
I'm very happy to
from
hear that,
feedback.
Mr. Chair. I'd like to see that being transparently provided to this committee then. Did you read these comments, and were they incorporated into your final proposal?
Sir, we haven't finalized the proposal yet.
Did you incorporate any of CFTC's
We haven't
recommendations?
finalized an adoption yet.
Mr. Chair, did you incorporate any of the CFTC's proposals into your recommendation?
We have put out to public comment to get feedback, and we get feedback, and it's benefiting this, and I think that we can...
So I haven't heard anything about the CFTC on this. You're putting it out to the public, which brings me to my next question. It's my understanding that you recently reopened the comment period without re-proposing the rule. Specifically, what value does this add to the ag community and my constituents for their grave concerns if you're reopening it, but you're not listening to the CFTC, the ag committees, or even what's happening on a bipartisan level within this committee?
We benefit by reopening. I think we reopened this because we had another rule that may intersect with this, the discussion we've had a lot here today, and so we reopened it formally to get further comment.
It might suggest to some that you didn't get the answers you wanted, and so you reopened it to others. So let me end with this. I urge you to withdraw this rule as my bipartisan and bicameral elements have argued the same. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Gentleman from Florida, Mr. Donalds, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Gensler, welcome back. Hey, do you remember where we left off, you and I?
I do. You're a very good questioner, sir.
All right, well, let me refresh. Let's bring some things up. Where we left off was, did you facilitate the payment for the Steele dossier for the Hillary Clinton campaign back in 2016? Because you were the CFO. You acknowledged that. You also said, in response to my question, that this payment was not something that I was aware of, quote unquote. Those are your words. Interesting things have occurred since then. John Podesta actually testified to a committee of Congress, and John Podesta testified to a question about, was Gary, meaning you, was he day-to-day, hands-on, signing every check? And so John Podesta testifies, actually he was under a deposition with a committee here in Congress. He says, yes, I don't know if he signed the checks, but he was there every day, meaning you. So let's circle back. Were you aware of the fact that the Hillary Clinton campaign actually paid for the Steele dossier, which unleashed one of the worst issues of intelligence malfeasance that our nation has ever seen?
No, sir, I answered this 6 months ago, and this is the same answer today. No.
You weren't aware of what was going on? Mr. Gensler, I find that very interesting because, you know, if I listen to some of the people and the staff that have left the SEC, you're very aware of everything that is going on. It's actually your MO. You're very hands-on. So you're going to tell the committee right now you had no idea that the Hillary Clinton campaign, of which you were the CFO on, sent money to Perkins Coie for a dossier that was phony, that led to the spying on of a presidential campaign in 2016. You were not aware of any of this.
Look, sir, as a chief financial officer in a political campaign, I was not aware of what a law firm was doing with some of the money that they got.
Now, I find that interesting because in some of your other rhetoric about CFOs in the public sector, the private sector of our economy, you are very tough on CFOs. You've said on the record on many occasions that CFOs have a fiduciary responsibility to the organizations that they cover, that they should be aware of everything that is going on. So how is that a standard you hold CFOs in the private sector to, but you don't hold yourself to that same standard?
That's not a standard that the SEC holds CFOs to. It's about their financials and that the financials are put together in accordance with GAAP and that the numbers are accurate. And that they're.
So did you accurately pay for the Steele dossier out of the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Sir, I learned about that way after President Trump was a president and Hillary Clinton was a private citizen.
All right, well, let's move on. We'll probably circle on that another time. I want to reference a story in Capital Account from June 13. Mr. Chairman, I ask for unanimous consent for the story be entered into the record.
Without objection.
The story notes that you met with Senator Tammy Baldwin in May about the SEC's proposal related to the 13D beneficial ownership disclosure, at which time you allegedly asked Senator Baldwin's staff, allegedly, to contact an organization called We the Investors to submit comment letters in favor of the 13D proposal. Subsequently, the SEC was flooded with 350 plus comment letters from so-called individuals, but mostly form letters stamped with the moniker We the Investors in favor of their proposal. It appears to me that you have engaged in astroturfing to advance your own agenda. Is this true? If this is true, is this a serious breach of impartiality that would violate the spirit, if not the letter of the law of the APA?
Sir, again, I don't know what the press is talking about. I remember a meeting with the senator. It was a good thought.
Did you meet with Senator Baldwin in May with respect to 13D?
I think that it's on my public calendar that I met with Senator Baldwin. I meet with senators and representatives.
Okay, so here's what we
regular
I need to
basis.
get from your public calendar if you actually met with Senator Baldwin. I think the committee would like to know that. In this meeting with Senator
think I
Baldwin's
did.
staff, did you speak to an organization called We the Investors?
I have no memory of that.
Mr. Gensler, the no memory routine from a lot of appointees is really getting old. You guys are discussing and leading some of the various regulations facing our economy. So to come before a committee of Congress, have no idea what you talked to with a senator's staff about 13D?
The meeting was with the senator, sir.
All right, well then, if you don't recall what you said to a United States senator about key issues facing our economy
No,
from a
I'm-
regulatory basis,
Please, sir.
that's a real problem, don't you
You're a
think?
good questioner, but please, sir, that story is not one that I would confirm. It's not a story that I believe is accurate.
Let me ask you a question, broad base. Do you think it's appropriate for the chairman of the SEC, or frankly the head of any agency, to engage with outside groups to accomplish the agenda they want to see through rulemaking?
We are responsible under the Administrative Procedure Act to hear from outside parties, market participants, constituents in your district, members
No,
of
that's not my
Congress.
question. We
We're-
want to
we're
hear from outside
obligated.
groups.
We're
Is it
obligated.
okay to foment outside groups to help you
Gentleman's
accomplish what you want to
time's
see?
Gentleman's time's expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Generally from Indiana, Ms. Houchin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Waters, and thank you to Chairman Gensler for speaking with us today. Chair Gensler, under the last Democrat chair of the SEC, Mary Jo White, the commission adhered closely to the statutory authority of Congress. During her time as chair, 59% of the SEC's proposals were mandated by Congress. By contrast, under your leadership, only 17% of the commission's proposals are mandated by Congress, according to a report from Professor Hal Scott of Harvard. Why is there such a rush under your chairmanship to promulgate so many rules without specific mandates from Congress?
It's because technology and the markets have changed so much. She was coming in as chair right after a financial crisis, so naturally there was, I think, 120 mandates that Congress placed. But you're accurate. We've picked up about 10 of those from Dodd-Frank, one from the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable
So,
Act.
Chair Gensler, there's a perception that the SEC is neglecting public input, and particularly from bipartisan letters that the members of Congress have sent to voice valid concerns regarding individual rules and the rulemaking process. The concerns encompass the bipartisan concerns about insufficient comment periods and a general response to bipartisan concerns regarding proposals on swing pricing, liquidity risk management, and equity market structure. Are you aware of similar bipartisan concerns being raised with previous SEC chairs? If not, could you elaborate on why the opinions of Congress don't factor into your considerations?
Well, the opinions of Congress most definitely factor into my consideration.
It doesn't seem so, Mr. Chairman. It does not seem so when only 17% of the proposals that you have brought forth are the result of mandates from Congress. I find it incredibly frustrating that anytime we provide comment or send what we call strongly worded letters about our opinions on how the SEC should behave, it seems like these must be immediately thrown in the trash and disregarded. I want to turn to Reg SCI. The SEC originally adopted Regulation Systems Compliance and Integrity, otherwise known as Reg SCI, in 2014 in response to several market disruptions at national securities exchanges. Earlier this year, the Commission proposed to expand Reg SCI to certain broker-dealers. However, unlike in 2014, the Commission fails to provide a single instance of a broker-dealer systems disruption that had a significant market-wide impact in the securities markets. In fact, the SEC's own proposal acknowledges that broker-dealer systems performed well during the unprecedented trading volumes and volatility at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Further, the Commission admits that it, quote, finds it impracticable to quantify the many benefits associated with amended Regulation SCI. Once again, this seems like the Commission is providing a solution in search of a problem. Chairman Gensler, given that the Commission cannot point to a single broker-dealer systems disruption or any tangible benefits to applying Reg SCI to broker-dealers, how can you justify that proposal?
As we outlined in the proposal itself, which is still out for public comment, that some broker-dealers may have the size and scale and standing in the markets that if they were taken down, that could be disruptive to the markets. That's the important thing. And this so-called systems compliant integrity is about those most consequential or essential parts of the market.
The SEC's RegFlex agenda for 2023 indicates you intend to finalize proposed rulemaking to expand the definition of an exchange in short order. Although the SEC has reopened this rulemaking, the proposed rule is still fraught with insufficient economic analysis and ill-defining scope, among other things. Given Congress's ongoing and unaddressed concerns with the rulemaking, as well as concerns of hundreds of stakeholders, it seems irresponsible for the SEC to finalize this rulemaking. Could you comment on the expected timeline for finalization of this rule?
You'll be pleased to hear that we don't do it against a clock. It's really when we get the comments and the economics right and the legal authorities right, and then discuss it with the commissioners.
And finally, I want to raise an alarming issue that I think needs further attention: the timing of various actions by the SEC while Congress is seeking to establish a regulatory framework on digital assets. To name a few, January 12th, 2023, this committee announces the formation of the Digital Assets Financial Technology and Inclusion Subcommittee. It was subsequently announced that the SEC pursued enforcement actions against 2 firms. March 9th, 2023, the committee hosts its first hearing on the Biden administration's approach to digital assets. An hour before the hearing, you publish an op-ed in The Hill. April 27th, 2023, the committee hosts another hearing on digital asset regulation. You tweet and quote office hours video on your view that most digital assets are securities. May 3rd, 2023, this committee and the House Agriculture Committee, led by my colleague Chairman Thompson, announced our first joint hearing on digital asset legislation, which is unprecedented. You published another office hours. I'm not one to connect dots, but it seems like you're actively trying to undermine the work of Congress. You must not impede our work to do our job, even though you won't do yours. I yield back.
If the gentleman wants to respond.
I very much respect the work of this committee, and particularly the work of this committee around crypto assets. We have a robust time because this is a field that's rife with fraud and abuse, and so our enforcement agenda sometimes does roll out while you're doing your good work here as well.
Mr. Ogles of Tennessee is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gensler, thank you for being here. I do want to echo the chairman and support the chairman that, I think we've come to this crossroad where subpoenas may be necessary. It seems that compliance and requests for information and documentation has been kind of shortcoming. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, you have my full support as when and if you decide to move forward. But Mr. Gensler, I want to kind of, one of the things that concerns me is sometimes the subjective or what the perception of subjective and arbitrary nature of the rules. In May 25, 2022, the SEC proposed amending the names rule to further regulate the names of investment funds. Well, I think everyone would agree that it's misleading of a fund called the Mexico Growth Fund made most of its investments in Japanese value stocks. Many names may be subject to differences of opinion. The proposal specifically mentions ESG funds. Mr. Gensler, is the SEC equipped to determine what, broadly speaking, is good for the environment as it pertains to ESG?
No, sir, we're not an environmental regulator.
So again, going back to the subjective nature of some of the rules and the compliance that is forced, I mean, it's kind of like what's better than environment, paper, or plastic bags? And so when we should be focusing more on the fiduciary aspect of a fund versus its environmental compliance, I have concerns. When you look at the social component of ESG, who would you entrust or how will you determine whether or not a company is compliant with the social portion of ESG?
So in terms of this names rule, it was basically truth in advertising, that if you're going to say you're a social fund, to use that, you have to actually then describe what the marketer of that fund means by social, and then ensure that you invest as you're marketing to the public. This was really a rule in most regards, the names rule adopted in 2023 years ago to protect the investing public, that the advisors they pick are doing, that they say what they mean and they mean what they say.
So, but again, to my point, this creates a very subjective nature to the rules process, right? Because you just said that you don't have the capability to judge the environmental component. You don't have the capability to judge the social component. And so now if there's a clear definition and disclosure in the prospectus, who is to determine whether or not they're compliant, right? And so you now have a rule that can be abused or a rule that's completely useless. And so why even have the rule when at the end of the day it should be about?
Well, it's sort of like, as one of my fellow commissioners said when we voted on this rule, if you say that you're selling pepperoni pizza, that there's actually pepperonis on the pizza.
I like pepperoni pizza, so don't get me wrong, right? But yeah, I just look at, and forgive me, these rules outlive any given administration, but under this current administration, the Biden administration doesn't necessarily have the greatest track record of trust with word definitions. So, and I don't mean to be, contrarian here, but if the administration can't figure out what a woman is, how do I trust them to have any kind of bearing or judgment on?
I totally understand what you're saying, but that's not what we adopted in a names rule, is that if you're marketing to the public that you're, let's say, an environmental or a green fund, you describe what that means and you ensure that at least 80% of the investments in the fund meet your self-described. Sure. You can describe what a pepperoni pizza is, but if you describe it, you better comply with it.
But again, I just,
It's
so
the fund
when you look at like the climate disclosure and the burden that's being put on businesses to track their supply chains, you're now creating an enforcement mechanism that the company has to enforce on its supply chain. So again, these rules that you're pushing down on business, that you're pushing down on these instruments, only does one thing but drive up costs on, at the end of the day, the end use. So the very people that you're trying to protect, you're hurting because of the arbitrary nature of the rules that you've put in place. It's very frustrating. And again, Mr. Chairman, I'm about out of time, but I was just going to say that I would say open up the floodgates, hit them with subpoenas, get the information we need, the obfuscation and not answering questions. I'm sick and tired of it. I've sat back here and I've listened to this entire hearing. I mean, dude, you wear tap dancing shoes better than Fred Astaire, and enough is enough. And I don't mean any disrespect, but it's time that questions are answered, that we have the information we need. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Gensler. It's 2:29. It's not your longest day in a committee, but thank you for being here. As I stated in the outset, It's my request of you and your agency to comply with our request as a committee. I don't want to use the compulsory process for the first time in our history between this House of Representatives, this committee, and your agency. So I think it's would be a purposeful act on your part if it resulted in us issuing a subpoena. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days within which to submit additional written questions for the witness to the chair, which will be forwarded to the witness for his response. I ask you, Chair Gensler, to please respond no later than October 30th to those written questions. This hearing is adjourned.
All right, guys. Savvy, I need to send this link to Mr. Frank Ness. Also, I did send it to Charles Payne. So let's see if he quotes retweets the video clip.
Did you get it to Unusual
I'm working
Whales?
on it. I can only do I'm trying to be quiet at the same time.
Come on,
I
Vicky.
only have.
Come
All right,
on.
so can you
You've had
let's
3
get
minutes.
some
What's the
speakers up
problem?
here. Anybody that's willing to take a mic, please do so. I retweeted that clip. It's up on the Nest. Savvy, and then Grandpa. Go ahead.
No. Go to Grandpa. Grandpa, go ahead. Grandpa, did you have some thoughts?
You have to unmute yourself, sir. Go ahead, 100.
Oh, I mean, there was so much to unpack on this meeting. I mean, it was a little bit hard to listen to at many times, but it was jam packed with a lot of I guess direction on what this congressional hearing and congressional body was actually attending to, and a lot of mentions of the cat, a lot of mentions of multiple threats of a subpoena. At least 5 times was my count. First time U.S. history that is mentioned and with good cause. Mr. Donalds puts tremendous pressure on Gensler. I mean, I know he's doing it because of all the court procedures that are going on in regards to Trump, but it's good to see that he's putting pressure on him as well. Mr. Norman comes out firing questions about China's interference in U.S. markets and the U.S. And a U.S. regulator, meaning the SEC, not doing anything about it to protect privacy laws as well, and the rules and regulations that are in place are different from the U.S. rules and regulations that are here in the United States. Then he brings up Prometheum, which is basically the digital ecosystem and the new marketplace that's being designed and set up via NASDAQ, and then he proceeds with his line of questionings to Meta, and Gensler is acting stupid again. So that's just one side of it. I mean, there were multiple other questions, but I know that we just want to talk about MMTLP, so we just keep there for now.
Well, yeah, no, he talked about, well, they all talked about, property, contract, all of those things that you've been talking about for quite a while. But yeah, guys, if you didn't see John Berta's post, completely disingenuous of Gary to say that this is public record, for him to act like he hadn't heard after, all of the letters, all of the videos. You guys can see my tweets. I've put it out there. I've attached the videos, the letters. I mean, what was there, 5 or 6 threats of a subpoena? 100. I think there were 6. I think he threw in one for a good picture at the end.
Well, yeah, I don't count it because it came from the same person. He's the chair, so I would just say 5. Yeah, because he brought it up at the very beginning of the hearing.
He did.
You know what I mean? And then he closed again with it to make sure that he reinforced his threat. So it was very comforting to hear and see.
Well, and just so everyone knows, it was not specific to MMTLP, but a general threat, because it's obvious that Chairman Gensler is obfuscating and not providing the data that they're requesting on a whole myriad of issues. And so we can hopefully assume that MMTLP is one of those, but that's why we get the calls. We got to keep the pressure up. I know that someone in the background just landed a major meeting. So you know who you are. Congratulations. And we're looking forward to hearing about it if we're able to. So T-Nuts, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if it's public knowledge, because it was a publicly traded company up until December 12th, I mean, traded until December 8th, but technically it was there until the 12th, then why can the public not get that? I mean, I don't understand why the congressman
Right.
didn't follow that up real quick. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it's public knowledge, so then why does the public not have it? It's that
And
simple.
why did FINRA refuse it 3 times and they're behind closed doors? Why did the SEC staff refuse it or refuse to answer when they were asked and they're behind closed doors?
So basically,
Completely
I mean,
ridiculous.
if I'm wrong, maybe I am, but basically by him stating that, now they can't walk back. They can't, for any reason, after this is over and Congress submits their letters or talks to him about it, he can't walk that back and say, well, we can't get that information at this time or whatever, because it's public knowledge. So he should be able to get it to him ASAP. So if anybody goes and writes a letter asking for that in writing or, in person, to me, he has to give that up now, no matter what, without a fight, because he just said on live TV where it's recorded, it's public knowledge.
Yeah, it was shocking, T-Nuts, to hear him say that. And then someone actually referencing the tap dance. Yeah, and honestly, guys, he's not very good at it. Let's go to Positive. Positive, how are you? What are your thoughts? Positive, you got to mute yourself, my friend. Okay, guys, he may be on a phone. Oh,
Let's go. Positive, negative. If you can hear me, please unmute your mic. You're up next. All right. While we wait for a positive and negative, let's go to Nicholas. I think he's coming up to the mic. Let's give him a chance. Nicholas, can you hear me? Okay. Let me drop down and I'll come back. Hopefully, Nicholas connects. Give me a second, Tabby.
you guys, just so you know, clips are out. We've been tweeting and retweeting them constantly. So still images and video clips are out. If you guys want to circulate that, guys, we're trending, but let's trend just a little bit harder. So, it wasn't as direct and organized as Senator Crapo was, but effective nonetheless. So we now have 2 public hearings where they have referenced an audited aggregated share count and MMTLP. And I loved his I sensed a little bit of snarkiness when Representative Congressman Norman said, okay, we'll just send you another letter. So
All right, I'm back.
that
I'm
was,
back. So let's try.
I thought that was
Let's go to
fantastic.
Don Fizz, and then we'll go to positive and negative if he's back. Don, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, how you doing? We just got off a Zoom call. Very, very good call. Just want to report it went well. The Zoom meeting cut off short. We must have went right at the 30-minute point. She actually called me back on the phone, and we spoke for another 20 minutes. And looks like we're getting a letter from the office. Very receptive. Was more on the veteran side. She was a veteran herself from Baghdad. And it was just extremely great. Another great Zoom call. We got 3 set up for tomorrow, and I'm very excited. And we're making a move. That's all. I just wanted to report that.
Hey, thanks, Don. So if you could stick around for a second, maybe some of these speaker have questions for you. Positive, are you there?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just
good. We can
ran
hear you
into
now. Go
something.
ahead.
I'll come back.
Oh, okay.
I'll come back.
No problem. Nicholas, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Awesome.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I put a FOIA request in for the aggregated share count. Last time it came up when Crapo talked about it, and I got a response from the SEC today, and I was able to take that link and send it to them, and they said it was perfect.
and I just sent another one now using that newest link. I forget the guy's name, that representative, but
Ralph Norman.
Gary said it's public now, so let's see what happens. But I would suggest other people to do it too. Let's flood them.
Hey, Don 100 Savvy, what do you guys think about that? That now Gary Gensler saying that it's public.
I think we're going to see it.
Uh,
I mean, obviously, it's not public. I mean, that was
They're gonna get flooded with.
beyond ridiculous. He's flustered. He's absolutely flustered. He does not know what to say, forgetting, intentionally or otherwise, what he said before. But we all know it's not public. What the hell have we been fighting for 10 months? So, yeah, he's going to walk that
All right,
back.
positive, negative. Are you good to go now?
No, sorry, man. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead, Screaming Eagle.
Hey, I just want to comment on like what Gary said, and if when I watch the clip, what it looks like to me is that he's responding to the first question, which was, "Do you know MMAT or metamaterials?" Whatever he said, but I don't think he responded or he even acknowledged the fact that the words aggregated share count came out of the not the speaker but the member's mouth. It seemed like he was trying to honestly answer about metamaterials, and I think it was the way he did it, and I think the way he did it was purposeful to try and give somewhat of a true answer, but at the same time completely obfuscate the real question about the aggregated share count.
Okay, positive, negative. Go ahead.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I tried. I thought I listened to the entire thing, so it sounds like I missed it. They actually mentioned it again?
It was just mentioned once by Ralph Norman.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Once is good.
Once is good. It's up there
So
on the
what
nest
happened?
too.
What did he say?
It's up on the nest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it. I'm gonna watch it right now. I could have swore I listened to the entire
Let
thing.
me put metamaterials news also on there. I know that he tweeted out. Let me get that.
All right, thanks, Busy. I'm gonna watch it now.
Okay, so Meta News. I
Hey,
put your
Busy.
tweet up on the nest too. He also has it.
Hey, Busy. I just rewatched it. No, that was a direct answer to the audited shares. Yeah, guys, watch it again. He asked him, he said, I think it rolled in or changed to next bridge. And he said, do you know the share count? And he said, that's when he said it's public record. So no, it was a direct answer to the share count question.
Okay.
What a doofus.
Okay, I did my tweet twice. Let me remove that. Let me put. Wait, did you?
I know I had to edit it multiple times, guys. Just so you know, if you're going to tag Ralph Norman, it's Rep Ralph Norman. I messed it up, so please, you guys, if you're going to tag him, make sure that you add the rep in front of his
There you
first
go. I
name.
put the right one. Meta News. He posted the video also. I got.
Meta, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Everybody was on it. Craig Dubs also. He put it up there. So let me put that on the nest. While I do that, go ahead, Mac Chu.
Hey, yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but just listening to Junk say he was directly saying the share count is public information. I wonder if that's not just him being tricky with words and saying that, the number of authorized shares is public information and not recognizing that there is an overage.
That may be. I thought the same thing. Hey, Busy, I have it queued up. Do you want me to play that for everyone? It's about 50 seconds.
Yeah, use Meta Materials, the one that he has, so you can start from the beginning. Because mine actually cut off when he has Meta Materials in the beginning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got Meta News. So here, guys, I'll try and play it for you. Hang on. Let me just make sure my computer is pulled up all the
Actually,
way.
if not, I could do it. Either way. Okay.
I got it right here. It's right here.
Are you familiar with metamaterials?
Yes, I am, sir. Not very deeply, but it is a company that I've heard of.
Do you know what the aggregate shares are, audited shares count of MMTLP is as of close the market on December 8th, 22?
I don't know. I know that it's a company that then exchanged into something called NextBridge, I believe.
Okay. Does SEC have this information on the audited shares?
It may be a matter of public record. I mean, it was a company that it did an exchange and became another company.
We'll try writing you another letter, and if you would look into it, we would appreciate that. Are you familiar with Meta Materials?
Okay, sorry guys, it looped a little bit. So, I mean, he does say may, so maybe that was his way of hedging. But yes, he was very Nicholas. He was very careful.
Can I say doofus again? He's such a doofus.
Well, it's that darn cat allergy. It got in the way.
I mean, how insane was that? I mean, they were literally referencing GameStop as a meme stock, and then they go to the cat to referencing Hello Kitty, and then they go to the cat actual consolidated audit trail. Like, obviously, you're there to kill time and make fun of people at the same time. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, come on, Danny. He was tired from all the marathons he runs.
Yeah, to another thing. Half the time of that congressman's was talking about was about a marathon. Half the damn time that you could have used it more constructively. It's crazy.
Hey, Gio, you got your hand up, and then we'll go back to positive. Gio, go ahead.
Hey, who was the gentleman that was talking about he sent in a FOIA request? I was wondering if he'd be willing to put it in a nest so I can copy it and then send out my own, because I've never done one before. I think it's a good idea to flood them for that FOIA.
I think it was Nicholas, right? Busy was Nicholas?
Yes, it was.
Is he still on? I don't see him.
I don't see him. Nicholas, if you're there, please take a mic. Give me a second. Well, while we get to Nicholas, let me positive. I see that you're back up here. Give me a second, Gio. Let me try to get Nicholas back on here.
Can I go?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed through the whole thing there was a lot of talk about crypto and how he wants to protect the retail investor through crypto. But what about the market now? What about our markets now? Like, he's not protecting anybody now.
And climate
Worry
change.
about like, come on, man. Like, our markets are in shambles, and you're saying that they're protecting us? They're not protecting anybody.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Multiple times he said that.
It's interesting you bring that up because multiple congressional congressmen came up and they said, you know, talking about reforms, restructuring. They kept talking about retail brokers may not being able to, increase their prices and their commissions, highlighting the cost conflicts of the lit exchange and
Yes, I
dark
remember that
pools.
part.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you hear different different topics about the cat multiple times, and then you could see the discrepancy between who's focusing on green and who's focusing on all this other nonsense when we're trying to get to the real source of the problem. So, Gary Gensler can't do anything to define, a good way that he's governing the U.S. market, and it's just obvious, and that's why you see the frustration where you had 5 threats of going into the path of producing a subpoena, first time in U.S. history. It's breathtaking.
Who was the first speaker who opened up?
That's Patrick McHenry. He's the chair.
No, I don't think she was all praising
Oh.
Gary Gensler about
Maxine
his good
Waters.
job. Yeah, like where
You're
is
talking
this
about
woman's
Maxine
head?
Waters.
She's in space somewhere.
Well, she used to be my representative, actually. She is from Southern California, outside of Los Angeles. She has been there an incredibly long time.
Yeah, she's old.
And yeah, She is, but she's also, let's just say, she runs rules with an iron fist. She was the head of that committee before she became the minority leader. So, yeah, that's Miss Mad Maxine, as we call her.
Mad
So,
Maxine.
Hey, I want to go to Gio because he had a question for Nicholas, and then I want to go back to Anna.
Okay.
And Frank
Thanks,
Ness,
guys. Thanks, guys.
and Frank Ness just quote retweeted it. He just texted me that he's going to write an article on it, so I'll be looking out for that. Go ahead, Gio.
Hey, Nicholas. I've never done a FIO request. Would you be willing to share what you do so I can submit one myself?
I mean, yeah, I can't after work, but it's pretty easy, man. You just go to the FOIA website, you select the agency that you want information from, and then you just fill in the blanks. And it should only take you about 2 minutes. And I would just use the exact wording from the representative's questioning, and then, just copy and paste the link right out of Twitter and add it in there as well. And then you should get a response immediately saying that they accepted your request, and they will start the investigation.
And do you recall what the cost is for that?
There's no cost.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's free. It's free. So that's what I'm telling everyone to do it. And, do it similarly and just flood them with the questioning.
I agree with you. That's why I wanted
Because
to do it. Okay.
it is a law and they have to respond.
Well, since he opened up that can of worms by saying it's public, I don't see what they could say now.
Right, because he said that, now they can't use the 7A exemption that they have to withhold information for an investigation because now he said it's public. So hopefully,
Did you state that in your FOIA that it's
yes, I
exempt
did.
now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
See, I don't know what wording you put in there, so that's why I
Hey,
wanted to.
just you can't do it wrong.
Okay.
So don't be worried. Just do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So,
oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. What's the web page for that? Do you know what the? What,
Yeah.
what do I?
Just type in FOIA.gov in your browser, and it should pop up.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
hey, Will Stewart, I see that you're on here. You're more than welcome to take a mic. I sent you a mic. Also, let's go to Scotty, and then we'll go to you, Anna. Scotty, go ahead.
Excuse me. Sorry, I was listening a little bit, but I just wanted to reach out and say I commend your efforts. I'm not an MMTLP holder, but I've listened to the House Finance Committee or whoever that is talking to Gary Gensler twice, and I've heard them mention your ticker. That I'm sort of aware of what's transpired there, but again, I commend you and all of you on the dais and your community for what you've managed to accomplish at this stage. And that's pretty much all I really had to say. I mean, clearly we're all in a market that's full of fucking corruption and bullshit that affects a multitude of stocks. But again, I do commend all of you for the efforts that you put in to get the recognition on your particular ticker. And that's about the extent of it. Appreciate you letting me come up and say something.
No problem, Scotty. I see that you're working on something. I could hear the grinder in the background.
I was thinking, is that a grinder or a jackhammer? I was getting a little excited over here. Construction girls. So,
yeah, that's in the unit
Scotty,
next to me. But either way,
yeah,
again, appreciate your efforts.
All right, thank you, Scotty.
sure. Well, thank you, Scotty. It's definitely been a community effort, and we can't understate or we can't overstate how historic this is. That it is now two congressional hearings aired on public television, in which they've talked about share counts. Of course, Senator Crapo mentioned counterfeit shares, naked shorting, blue sheeting. And of course mentioned the ticker and the companies, and to have Ralph Norman, congressman, back that up just 2 weeks later is fantastic. Huge win for the community, guys, but that's just a battle we won. We've got to win the war. So let's not sit back on our heels. Let's continue to make those phone calls and use this information, use the clips, and let's continue to push. Yeah, let's do it. We still coming.
So again, thank you, Scotty, for those kind words coming from another community. I greatly appreciate those words. So Anna, that is your boy. You have the mic.
Hey guys, yeah, I want to give like credit to John Taylor, the constituent from Ralph Norman's office, and Alex Biscuits early on was working with Ralph Norman's office, and both brought me in, and I met with this office 5 times, and yesterday we weren't even sure if Norman was going to be at the meeting, and John was back and forth, and we were emailing and putting forth the questions, and we didn't get a guarantee that it was happening. So I was sitting on my edge of my seat today, and I came to tears, and I was shouting, so I didn't hear everything that was said. I have to go back and listen, but John nurtured that relationship, and that's how it works. I met with this office back in April and again in June, and then through John, got back in touch with that office and have worked this relationship. And it's just unbelievable how the team efforts in this community work. And I am so grateful that this happened today. We were on a Teams meeting yesterday, and his office was on there with Berta. And good things are happening behind the scenes. I'm just really grateful with the momentum that we have with Matt and Don Fizz, and there's just a lot, or Notoriety, sorry, there's just a lot of great things that are happening behind the scenes. But it's not a time to let up, guys. This is like, we're not over until we get a resolution. So please continue to reach out to your congressional offices and your staffers, and form those relationships, because that's how it works. You nurture them for for a while, and then they start to, you feed them information, and you continue to follow up with them, and then they want to help us. So I'm really grateful that it's all coming to fruition, and things are happening. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you,
Uh,
Anna.
John-
Go ahead, 100, and then Savvy, whoever wants to go first.
No, Savvy, go.
I just wanted to add to that. I was just DMing with Alex about a half an hour ago. And so, really, he was the one that set up those first meetings with Norman's office, and was working with his office. And so, Alex, yes, this is a huge community win today, but just want to throw a lot of love to you. I just sent you another DM. We were literally DMing about 30 minutes ago, maybe a little bit longer. So, Alex, he's not been around as much. He's got some things going on and working behind the scenes, but just wanted to do a big shout out to Mr. Alex Biscuits. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see if John Taylor can come to the mic, but he's been terrific with this. His follow through, his just his belief in what we're fighting for. So I just want to give a huge shout out to him, and to Berta as well, for coming on the calls and just always being there. So it's amazing. We're so fortunate to have so many amazing people fighting this fight side by
John
side.
Taylor, if you're on the listening crowd, please take a mic. John Taylor.
I hope he's not mad at me for calling him out on it, but you know what? It's a win, and he's terrific. He is, just he's terrific. So I just want to give a huge shout out
And
to
that,
John.
again, with Senator Crapo, it took them what, 9 to 10 months, I believe it was. I can't remember what Jen Capella stated that how long.
She said they first reached out to him in December.
That.
So it's taken 10 months, 9.5
And
months. And I know Alex was talking to Norman's office late December, January. So
which is
absolutely. Alex didn't even know, guys. He was like, wait, what happened? What happened? So I just sent him
I know.
the
I
video.
was going to call him in a few minutes when I get off of this.
well, we got John Taylor
I
on the
love
mic.
it.
John Taylor,
What's going on, guys?
good job.
It's just it's been months and months. Not just myself, just a huge amount of support from so many people all over the community, especially the South Carolina group. I know, especially in the last few days, it's been a blitz with the office, with just phone calls, emails. I just want to say this to anyone that's not having great success with their office. When I started reaching out, it was probably back in February or March. The general tone of conversations with his office was not very positive. And over time just continuing and pressing forward and presenting facts, which we have on our side, we could kind of see the tides changing. I was very fortunate to have a call directly with Congressman Norman probably about 2 months ago. It was about 3 or 4 days before that the Fearless 15 letter went out. So it's just been monumental momentum, and we as a community just need to keep this going. Don't get discouraged if you're not getting, much response. We're getting close, I feel. And there's a lot of people that I know for a fact that aren't very vocal or visible on space calls, that are working tirelessly behind the scenes. So I just want to, keep everyone's spirits up, and let's just keep pushing this forward till we get what we deserve. And that's a resolution to this.
Hey, Busy, do you remember when I first came into the community and I said that this was going to take everything that you got?
100%.
Are you guys starting to see what I mean? Because it takes everything that you got to get to where you get to. So, where you got. And congratulations. Really, seriously. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John Taylor.
Well,
Go ahead, Savvy, and then
no, I was just going to say, and congratulations to you, 100. So many of the things that you've been talking to us about, custody, property, all those things they talked about today, even the questioning, the subtle or not so subtle questioning about the constitutionality of the SEC was brought up today. And so many questions that obviously is on their mind. And, it's definitely a iceberg situation. What we hear in questioning in these committee hearings is just the tip. We know that so much more is going on underneath that surface. And so, definitely we need our reconciliation of MMTLP. It's very clear. They're very aware. And they certainly can't claim not to be, but just a huge win all the way around today. So, but
What makes it a little even more special? The fact that the congressional subpoena, the first time in U.S. history, is going to be used. And you have to understand, the subpoena is very broad because they're talking about market reform and they're threatening to restructure the SEC at the same time. And what perfect way to do that by using the MMTLP's evidence, right, to support that the SEC has been negligent. And all at the same time, and I'm going to mention this once because I think it was a grenade that was thrown underneath the SEC's building, pretty much, where Mr. Barr comes out and he mentions Basel III, the 15C211, and commercial real estate all at the same time at the SEC. Like that in itself, you put those three things together, do some do some research on it, and you'll start to figure out like the line of questioning that the SEC was under fire with was really addressing the fact that the SEC is not protecting any assets in any way, and their rules are not even they're not up to par. And at the same time, Basel III references the private sector and international corporations that have influence over them. And then towards the end of the meeting, you hear a comment or a question saying, I feel like the SEC is compromised, right? So 5 threats of a subpoena. You've got the whiplash of a compromised governmental agency, and then on top of that, you got the evidence to support it through the MMTLP thing. Like, come on, you're about to get bitch slapped.
Well, and something else I thought was interesting, 100, is when, of course, it's all political, and the big thing right now is the government shutdown. but for Mr. Gensler and the questioners to focus on how this is going to shake the integrity of the markets. And I don't know if you guys saw my tweet, but I said, well, how are the counterfeit shares doing it, shaking the integrity of our markets? And it's very clear that Gensler is doing very, very little to rectify that situation. And it is a threat to not only, the American investors, but the global investors, our economy, and national security. And so, yeah, I thought that was a very interesting line of questionings, but definitely a historic day, historic day.
I want to try Grandpa Ken. I'm trying to call on you again. Are you there? If you're there, sir, please unmute your mic. Grandpa? Nope. Okay. And Stonk, I see you, man. What's going on, Devil Dog? Let's go to CFS. CFS, you have the mic.
Good afternoon. It was obviously a long hearing, but wasn't it Patrick from the very beginning that mentioned blue sheets, and Gary Gensler got kind of irate and nervous, and he said, I don't know where you're going with this. Although Patrick didn't mention our specific MMTLP, but I asked myself, what other ticket would he be asking about blue sheets? And I believe it was in his opening statement. And when he was talking about this will be the first time of filing a subpoena. Did anyone catch that?
Yeah, I definitely caught it, and I was refreshing to hear those words, blue sheets. But go ahead, 100.
Yeah, he mentioned blue sheets and the cat at the same time, and he mentioned the subpoena all within the introduction. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it really set the tone for the
And that
meeting.
big word, transparency.
Yes, that too. Yep.
That's what we need.
Well, I did think that it was most important for that to come from Patrick, being that he is, the head of it. And my heart just kind of sunk. I was like, finally. And I think we're there. We need that subpoena. We need to continue to put that pressure on. And I forget his name who was just up here, but I think now is definitely the time to absolutely flood them with FOIA requests.
Well, I got to tell you, I think we're gonna get it. Like, there's no way that subpoena is not coming, and there's no way MMTLP is not going to be part of it. There's no way. We're getting it.
I think
Like,
I think Patrick Mahendry was actually hinting him that a subpoena's coming your way pretty soon, and that was the very first thing that he started off with, and he sounded pissed off.
Well, that was definitely a shot across the bow, but I have to be honest, guys, I didn't know that they've never issued one against the SEC. Uh, Maybe that can explain why maybe it hasn't been done before. They don't take this lightly. I'm not trying to make excuses, just trying to give some context that I learned today. And so maybe that's why it hasn't come yet. But it sounds like it's coming now.
But also, Pete Sessions was there, correct?
Pete Sessions was there, yeah.
He was. He was.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that it would have been nice if he would have mentioned something again, especially after I'm so exhausted. I've been up since
Senator
5 o'clock
Crapo?
this morning. Even, it to like back the other representative up that did ask Gary Gensler questions. I was shocked that Pete Sessions was quiet. That's all. For whatever.
Well, he did mention something that was important, and it's a little dry, but he did mention something that was very important. And he said that he was talking about the institutions and the fines and penalties and where they would go. And he asked Gensler, where do these penalties go? And then he responded, oh, they go to the fair funds and the U.S. Treasuries.
Wait,
So
hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you. I wasn't. What at that point I was listening, so that was him that asked, "Where does the money go?" Okay, I get it. Thank you. Sorry.
Yep.
And that was news to us as well, because several people have asked, they collect all these fines, or rather don't collect. Apparently, they don't collect more than 50%. But where do they go? Well, now we know. And also, he did say that that the SEC is funded through other fees that they collect. And then, of course, they are funded through taxes as well. So it is not indeed these funds that fund the SEC. Maybe that's why they don't have the motivation to collect more than 50%.
Thank you. I didn't, like I said, I wasn't watching at that particular time and was just listening, but that was Pete Sessions that asked those questions.
It was. And Pete
Thank you.
also, yeah, my lady, Pete also his questions were before Ralph Norman. So, in the line of succession of questionings, he was probably a good 5, 6, 7
But you know
representatives
what,
before
Savvy?
Ralph Norman.
That's not an excuse because P has known about this for a while already, and for him not to mention
Oh,
us, that's like really.
no. I'm not making excuse. She asked why he didn't back
Yeah.
up what Ralph Norman said. Well, that's because he spoke
Well,
for him. But also, guys, when they have these hearings, and I'm not making an excuse, I'm just trying to explain the functionality, is they gather together as a
I'm just saying for
caucus
him,
and they plan out.
for Sessions, he doesn't have an excuse. He's known about this for how long already? Many of the community members have been reaching out, even attended town halls. For him not to mention MMTLP today is extremely disappointing.
Yeah. Hey, Busy.
Yes, Kate,
The
go ahead.
the thing I was going to bring up was that it was Pete Sessions that asked about the fair funds, and he said, "You got $6.4 billion, and that was based on SEC fines." He said, "What happens to that money? Where does it go?" So my question is I'm trying to read through to see exactly how that money can be distributed and what you can claim it for. I'm wondering if indirectly he was asking about MMTLP and if there's, some sort of resolution that we could get there, but I'm not sure.
Well, okay, but let's go back to Ralph Norman. Gary Gensler has to have he doesn't have a very good poker face. That's what I'm trying to say. When they're asking him about MMTLP, he needs to cut that shit out already. He knows about MMTLP. Anna was there in DC. She gave him some paperwork in regards to MMTLP. He knows about MMTLP. He knows about metamaterials. Uh, it was nice to him to mention NextBridge. So next time they ask him, oh yeah, I think I know that company. Was that December 8th, 2022 or December 20th? Like enough already. You know about MMTLP, do something about it. We're not going away. We're just gonna keep pushing.
I wanna piggyback of what Savvy just had mentioned about the functionality of the meeting and how these Congress members set up the meeting and what they're designed to talk about and so on and so forth. And I found it interesting, like right after Sessions spoke about or questioned about the fines and how they're appropriated, um, Mr. Emmer comes on and basically addresses Gary Gensler and says, it's really interesting because I find that the SEC is an impartial regulator, and then right after Mr. Emmer speaks, then Mr. Huenzanger projects a third threat for a subpoena, like literally right after, and he's one of the people that signed the letter. So to me, it's obvious they had an agenda here that they were going to go after Gensler from different approaches, but obviously it was for the same reason, right? So you have to take that into account. It's not just they're not working in singularity; they're just using that as a facade for their to achieve their agenda.
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make, is that with Senator Crapo and the Senate committee, what these committees do before these hearings is they gather together as a caucus, minority and majority parties. They script out these questions and they make assignments. They coordinate them like you just said, so that one builds upon the other. Now, of course, they can ask about anything they want and they can go rogue, but typically they don't. And so it is absolutely coordinated, like you're discussing.
100. I don't mean to interrupt. 100 because I don't remember which representative it was. I was in the middle of a phone call, but it had to do with kind of sort of like a war on fossil fuel, did you listen to that part and did you understand it? And if so, can you explain that to me, please? Because I missed part of that question.
I remember some of it. It was basically highlighting the importance of U.S. energy, and I believe it was a Texas office that was responding about it. I could be wrong about that, but it really was just highlighting the fact that the SEC was really doing its part to stronghold through political influence the oil and gas sector of the United States, which is imperative to make sure that we secure it and not stranglehold it. So that was the impression that I got.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can find it because I got some notes.
Well, and now we figure out how do we use it, just like, the fuel that Senator Crapo's clip that Samuel put together gave us. Now we've got so many more weapons in our arsenal now. And so, excuse me, guys. And so let's continue to use it, to reach out to our representatives, to use it in our Zoom calls and in our emails and certainly tweets. I can't wait for Sean to give us an update on where our impressions are now. But we're trending. We're still trending. So yeah, what a great day. But let's use
Another
it.
deal
Let's use
to
it.
our arsenal we could use. Okay, so listen, guys, I got open mic requests. You guys should be excited. I don't see anybody taking a mic. Let's get a flood of mic requests right now.
And actually, Busy, I'm going to drop down so to clear up
No,
a mic. And
you're
so
good. You're good up here.
no, I'm sorry. I have to go.
Okay.
I actually have to go get the truck and take off. I'm going to still
All
listen,
right.
but I'm just.
Thank you. Let me.
Thanks, Avi.
Yeah, thank you, Savvy, for attending and keeping us up to date. And great meeting yesterday with Don. Okay, who do I got up here? I'm getting a whole bunch of mic. Let's go with Venus. Go ahead. You have the mic. And I see Bucky. And I'm gonna run it for another 20 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes. I gotta do some errands, guys. So go ahead, brother.
Busy. This is Phineas. Did you call me?
Yeah, Phineas, go ahead.
Hey, I just double check. I'm kind of getting in late. I've been trying to listen while I was at work. Did two different congressmen address the MMLTP, or is it just the one?
No, it was just Ralph Norman. It's up on the Nest.
I see it.
Greg
Yeah,
Dubs, Meta News, and I tweeted out also.
I saw
So,
that. It was just partial. It was just partial of the interview of the questions, though, right? With him.
yeah, I mean, I'm surprised because Anna, how many questions were they giving? I mean, 100. You guys were working on the background with the questions, and
Yeah, I submitted at least 10 questions for multiple congressional offices, and then also worked on some private meetings, and hopefully they were used. And that was a much consolidated line of questions. There's probably about 4 or 5 of them, but obviously the number one question is the share count. So it's pretty.
and no,
It's
I
pretty.
just want to say, don't be disappointed that it was only one. At least we got one to mention MMTLP, but there's numerous meetings taking place, including yesterday. And I just mentioned that she met. What office did you say that you had a meeting with yesterday?
Actually, I had a meeting yesterday with 5 different offices at once, and Norman's office was on that call
Or was this
or on that
5
meeting
different
alone.
offices from the 15, or it was just throughout?
Well, 3 were from the 15.
Wow. So,
3 were from the
So,
15.
so those are
So
the
I
questions that
had
I
hopes
listed.
on some others asking today, and it was disappointing when they didn't. But we will continue to work with those offices, and I just want to give huge thanks to Ralph Norman's office for what they've done because without
without.
Yeah. I agree with Anna. You know, if it was mentioned earlier, this is just part of, we're just hearing part of the conversation, right? The 5 minutes. I'm sure there's people talking, they're talking all behind the scenes about these questions that each others are asking, right? So MMTLP has no doubt came up multiple times that we didn't hear.
Anna, you were breaking up. Did you want to continue on?
Sorry, I was breaking up. Yeah, so I'm pulling into my garage. That's why and also I think we're going to get to put forth questions for response, and I'm going to, get with John on that, John Taylor and John Berta, and put and make sure we get those in time with Ralph Norman's office. So because they only asked the one question, well, they were given only 5 minutes, and I'm sure he needed to address the other issues that he addressed, and I'm just grateful that he brought it up because that was the goal, is to, have it mentioned and ask about the share count, because it just puts more pressure on Gary Gensler and, brings more attention to our cause and to help us get closer to a resolution.
Agree, 100%.
So I have some hands up. Let's go with Bucky. We'll go to Victor, and then we'll go to Mike Hugh. Go ahead, Bucky.
Hey, thank you very much for the mic. I appreciate it. I was just curious. Pete Sessions brought up another stock, and he mentioned something about last November and 214 days. Are we aware of what stock he was referring to?
No, I'll have to go back to the videotape. I don't remember.
Okay, I was just curious if that was a veiled reference to us or something else that's going on.
That's interesting. I didn't catch that. I get so caught up. Let me see if I could go back. Well, Victor, maybe I could listen to that. Go ahead, Victor. Victor, Victor, are you there?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm concerned for Gary Gensler because how can you forget Anna? I mean, how can you forget getting drilled last time? He seems to not really remember us. Maybe we need to, double down our efforts to communicate with him.
Or just put that picture of Anna and Gary Gensler on the truck in front of the SEC every single
That's
day.
a good idea. Yeah, and I just said it. I mean, bad poker face. He knows about us.
I mean, do we bombard him with more text or emails, or how do we communicate? Make sure he understands and remembers us.
Well, we don't stop. We continue what we're doing until we're made whole.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in on that because someone commented on that post that I put out back in April when I, questioned him about MMTLP, and he only answered the one question, that he is aware of MMTLP. But you could see how he was smiling, and then his facial expression changed when I continued to ask the questions, and when he had to answer that, he kind of got from smiling to scowling or surprise. So he's 100% aware of us. I just think that he is, I think that he's on the hot seat, and it's a big issue. This is not just one ticker. It's going to expose it all, but we have to get this resolved, and they need to take care of us. It's been 10 months. We have people coming up with tax implications from Fidelity on October the 16th. So my hope is that something gets the ball rolling prior to that, and they will, give us some relief and give us a resolution. Let us get on with our lives. This has been 10 months of just pure fighting. Like 100 said, it takes everything you got. And, we've all pulled together, and it's unbelievable how a group of strangers from Twitter have found each other and created this mighty army. I'm just in awe of it, honestly.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so let's go to Mike, and then we'll go to Sean.
Hey,
Hello,
Busy.
sir.
How you doing? One good day. When they're sworn in, right, before they sit down. We don't ever see that part, right? They're under oath. Gensler was under oath, right? So when he sits there and says the share count's public, that kind of puts him in a quandary, doesn't it? Doesn't that put him in little problem when he makes that statement, and then that's read back to him later?
I have a feeling Howard is going to get to work.
Yeah, and I did call Congressman Norman's office, and I would urge everyone thanking him as a military veteran and how appreciative I said our community is that he's put MMTLP out there, that it's been 9 months, and everything that he's done, we're very thankful for. That was my conversation with his staff after a little while ago. So I just wanted to put that out there also, and I would say for everybody to do the same, because so anyway.
So let's go to Sean and MVP. Request the mic. I don't see you on here.
You may lose me here in a second. I may cut out, but I just wanted to point out that the other rep, Brian O'Donnell.
We lost you. You were correct. And how many cups of coffee did you have today, Sean? You're talking really fast.
I think he was doing that on purpose because he knew he was going to get cut off.
Sean.
Sean, come back to us when you can.
MVP, I don't see you on here. I'm searching through the whole thing. He just texted me. But just request the mic. I'll get you up here. It's easier for me. And Sean, you're roboting. All right, so let's wait for Sean to come back to life. All right, guys, I'm gonna go for another 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So if you want a mic, please request it. You should be excited. Today was a good day. Don't be disappointed. There's so many meetings happening in the background. You just wanna... Yeah, go ahead.
What's all the deal about the 605 rule? What was all that about?
I was literally just reading that. As Mr. Foster brings up the 605 rule and the CAT to increase the quality of executed transactions. And then he made reference to S3 and FINRA. Now, the S3 part, I need to do a little bit of homework on. So I don't know. I'll get back to you, Mike. It's a great question.
Okay, so let's go to Jeff. And yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Okay, Kemp, I'm gonna drop you so get some mics here.
Hey, I just called Ralph Norman's office. It was like literally one ring. Went straight to some nice little fella. Told him my appreciation and gave him my phone number. And then got off the phone. It took like, I don't know, 17 seconds. So I do not disagree. As long as you keep it short and sweet, that is a good idea.
So I have an answer. I'm sorry, Jeff. For Mike, because Mike had asked about the 605. S3 is a financial compliance and regulatory reporting software company. So it basically specializes in the compliance and trade analytics of all these financial institutions on the exchanges. So you if you consider that and you try to combine the purpose of what FINRA is supposed to be doing and giving you a transparent reporting of transactions, he's basically saying that quality of data needs to be put out to the public, and there should be a little bit more transparency on that. So it's kind of just a slight way of putting pressure on the SEC, saying you need to be you need to be more transparent, and the quality of your data needs to be much better.
Okay, Jeff, were you done, sir?
Yes, I was done.
Today.
Or pretty much.
And,
what was that?
I was gonna call you Jeffrey, but I know you're gonna get mad at me.
at your back porch
How
ring.
are you today, sir?
Hey, what's up, man? I was able to listen to some of that space. I did not hear the actual mention of MMTLP, but saw a recap video of it, and
I was
it's just good
falling asleep until I heard
good to hear.
metamaterials. I'm like, oh, there we go. Game
Yeah,
time.
hey, I'm telling you, it is insane that we sit here and go, wow, there's congressional hearings talking about MMTLP. Never in a million years did I think we'd be sitting in a spot where they would be asking those questions in a huge
Yes.
fashion. So appreciate everybody's work. Anna, Busy, Drew, Junk. I mean, everybody. The DD team is just Hollywood Henry. I thank you all every damn day. So I really do appreciate y'all. And another good day for the MMTLP
Yeah,
community.
it's definitely a collective effort. But it doesn't stop, right? We keep pushing. Again,
Oh, it's just the tip. It's just the tip. It's just the beginning, my
just
friend.
because I know I don't want anybody to be disappointed. This was like I'll take this any day. Any hearing that they mention MTLP, I'll take it any day. But just be aware, and I just mentioned that there was 5 reps on Zoom, right? 5 at the same time. Am I correct, Anna? Anna?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Busy. It was five of their like senior
Imagine that.
staff members. So
Just listen to that.
it was
5 of them at the same
so
time listening to our situation and talking with John Berta and some of our community members. So this is definitely not over. Maybe they need they have more questions. You know, these letters are being sent out. It takes time, but I'll take one any day of the week, Jeff.
And I want to thank my
100%.
congressional office, Buddy Carter, and his staffer who has helped me since the get go, like 8 months ago, for helping that meeting happen yesterday with the 5 different offices. And it was that was really a big, kind of an undertaking for us to put together. And I just, Buddy Carter, my Georgia rep, has been really helpful. And he's not on the financial service committee, but through his staffer that I've developed this relationship with, she has reached out to so many people on my behalf and guided me along the way. And I want to give a huge shout out to Buddy Carter as well.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Anna, for your hard work. Uh, it's people like you, Don Fizz, Matt, and just the whole entire community. This is what we want. We want pressure. We want Gary Gensler to keep on asking the questions. We want the questions, asked of him in regards of MMTLP, and that's all I ask for. As me as a shareholder here, that is also in the battle with you guys. It's just beautiful to see Gary Gensler in the hot seat, getting questioned about MMTLP. Let's go to. We're gonna go to Brad, and then we're gonna go to Todd Stewart, and the Wizard is in here too, and then we'll go to Sam, and then you, Gandalf.
Hey, Busy, thanks for calling on me. I put my hand up because there were no hands up at the time, but you make me smile, and you're a class guy, and it's nice to have your leadership here. And Anna, thank you for what you've been doing. And I really put my hand up because Johnny was talking about all that he had done to get to the point that where he got today. And I was feeling a little frustrated because, Busy, as you know, I've been working with my congressman, and I've been promised a letter for now over a month, and I've been following up, and they continue to tell me yes, and now it's drafted, but the congressman hasn't seen it. And so you can get a little frustrated because the wheels move so slow at times. And so Johnny was somewhat motivational to me. I'm not quitting, but it's just nice to hear that other people are hanging in there and continuing the fight. So I'm right there alongside. I don't do as near as much as other people in this community, but I will continue to put in my contribution, and thank you to everybody for the support and motivation.
But you start sending me.
That's really all I have.
Brad, you gotta send me another email, and I'm gonna team you up with the Anna. I'm gonna team you up with Don Fizz, and let's make this happen. I know you've
Okay.
been trying to reach out, but just send me a reminder, uh, or forward me any emails that in the past that you sent me, and let's get on there again. It,
Okay, I'll do
yeah,
that. yesterday I sent another email to him, and I've been talking to him pretty regularly. So give me another few days and see if I don't get my letter, and if not, I will reach out, because I can only imagine how busy all those other people are. No pun intended. But yeah, I'll definitely accept any help, and I'll continue to fight on. And once I get this letter from him, I will stay on him, and then I'm going to move to the congressman next door too, that out of my district. But
Listen, Brad.
um,
Brad, I
yeah,
Anna will tell you. Not only did I reach out to Anna, but I reached out to Don, and I'm like, listen, I've been trying to get a hold of Warren Davidson. I mean, you heard him today. Uh, in to no avail, right? Just
yeah,
is low level staffer, right? They do respond in regards to the emails, but we want some kind of Zoom call. I know that Chad has been doing the same thing, but we just got to keep pushing. So just like John and
okay,
Taylor came up, look how long he was hounding them and being persistent. Look at Jen Capella and the Ohio State group. They were pushing. So we just cannot give up, and just let them know we're not going away. But be courteous, right? Even though you're getting
yeah,
frustrated, they're not responding back, and just be like, hey, this is a follow up to my last email, and say nice things. And if you're upset and you're having a bad day, just chill, take a walk, and then come back. And when you have a clear mind, and send that email or make that phone call. So yeah, I can understand
well,
you want to reach out. Look at um, Diane
yeah,
Feinstein.
hey,
I was like, huh? Because I really thought that in California, I reached out to her office, and they didn't know about MMTLP, and that caught me off guard when I called. It's like, yeah, I'm calling in regards of MTLP. Have you heard of us? No. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So you
all
just got to
right.
stay cool, calm, and collective, and just try to either team up with somebody that's gonna help you out. But if you know the story,
Yeah, Brad, you can DM me. I have my DMs open and I can help you, format a letter or anything. And I know I have some people that I'm needing to get back to. And if they're on this space, I apologize. But
reach out.
for the last few days on this, it's been like 15 and 16-hour days that I've been working, behind
Yeah,
the scenes on this. But I kind of wanted to just chime in on that. It's really important that you're their constituent. So, as Busy saying, we're not here, he's not able to get through to Davidson's office, but you see, like when Don makes those contacts, he has to have a constituent. So like early on, when I was in DC, Alex Biscuit was able to get me a meeting with Darcy. And that's how it works. Like you
I
have to
see.
be a constituent of in their district. So,
Okay.
but I'm happy to help you with that. And then, we can get hopefully on a Teams meeting and push things forward. But also, I wanted to mention, guys, what happened today was big with Patrick McHenry speaking about the subpoena. And if we can get different congressional offices to send a letter on your behalf saying that, please subpoena for the aggregate audited share count and, the data for MMTLP on behalf of my constituent, that will put more pressure on Patrick McHenry. And we know he threw that out there today. So I think that is something that we absolutely need to be doing as well. On top of getting the letters to Gary Gensler is making more pressure for Patrick McHenry, hearing from as many congressional offices as possible on behalf of their constituents to subpoena for the data.
Thanks, Anna. Brad,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
good call there. Busy. Just before I run, I just want you to know that I didn't want you to misunderstand. I've made friends. I've gone over to my congressional local office here, and then they transferred me over to the head guy over there in Washington D.C. And I've got a good friend in him, and we've had a lot of correspondence over the last couple of months. And I really do believe what he says, that he's already drafted the letter and that he just wanted to run it by the congressman, and I will stay with it. And I have not been. Upset. I've only been a little disappointed because we want it yesterday and they seem to want to deliver it tomorrow. So that's all it is. But I totally agree about being friendly and nice. And the truth is, we're all in this together. I mean, they're really on our side, and they've got their hands full with a lot of other things, and so we just stay with it, and we won't be denied.
And you know
So
what, Brett? It's
I,
also who you know. Okay, you you,
yeah, yeah,
maybe you have a family member, a cousin, a friend that may have some kind of contact. And I know that we want to gather together in the community, but example, I contacted, a community member, and he's like, you know what? I know somebody that might have a contact with Senator Cruz. And within an hour, he sends me an email with that email that he sent straight to Senator Cruz's office. He tagged me on the email, and I was like, "Wow, that's just like it's like you lose focus because you're so concentrated of contacting Congress, contacting this one." But it just took like an hour. He reached out to one of his acquaintances, a friend, and they gave him a direct contact to Cruz. So that's how it happens. Is you just brainstorm and see and reach out. I know that a lot of the family members don't know what's going on or your friends, but you just never know who has that contact that maybe they could either link you up or get you on the phone. Same thing with one of the AGs. I'm not going to mention the AG's name, but he contacted that AG. So it's just who you know sometimes, right? So I just wanted to say that just don't give up, be persistent, and just think outside the box. You just never know who somebody knows that you could reach out to. Other than that, Brad, I'm going to continue on with Hans. Is that okay with you, sir?
I only want to say that is the most solid information right there. I just love that input. And with that, I'm going to step down. But thank you for that. And that's something I can use as
And
well.
get with Anna.
So thanks again to everybody. God bless, and see you in the circle.
Get with Anna. She said to DM her.
Will do. I'm going to step down.
Right, no problem.
Make sure to get and Don too, because he's got a secret sauce that
Well,
works
Don
too.
and Anna work together perfectly, so I'm pretty sure they'll get together.
Yep.
So let's go
Yep.
with
Yep.
Todd, and then Sam, and then Gandalf.
Hello, Busy. How you guys doing, everybody? Can you
Yes,
guys
sir.
hear me?
We're doing good.
So I just made a phone call to Ralph Norman's office, thanking them. I talked to a man named Mike. It took me like 30 seconds, very easy. And he was really appreciative that I called him, and I was just nice to him. Just wanted to tell you guys. Also, on Monday, I made 30 phone calls, and like 5 or 6 people didn't even know about our play. So they might have new people coming into their offices. I don't know, but everybody was receptive,
Well, let's
and
let's
a lot,
actually chime in on that. Anna, I want you to talk about that because it's absolutely true. They have new people in some of these congressional offices and Senate offices. Anna?
Yeah, I mean, the staff turnover is, it happens, and I know that they had interns coming in, so it's very likely, highly likely, when you call, especially if it's the front desk person answering the phone, that they may not know about MMTLP. But that's an opportunity to educate them, and then ask, if you can move up higher up the ladder, or if you can obtain an email from someone within that office that you can pass information along to. So, yeah, that's likely to
Continue, Todd.
happen.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the thing that I got out of the meeting today is I think Gary Gensler is protecting FINRA, and because he's kind of like not saying, what we want to hear, he's just kind of going, oh, yes,
He's
okay, but I think it's all
yeah,
about
he's
FINRA.
sidestepping a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also Busy in 100, can you follow me because my account was suspended, and I needed you to have you follow me, please.
Done. You're just pending. All right, so let's go to Sam. 100. Did you follow Todd? All right.
I did. Pending.
All right, Sam. You're next. Thank you, Todd. 30 emails. Sam, you have to unmute yourself, sir. Sam? All right, Edward, are you there while we wait for Sam?
Yeah, I just want to make
I
sure
got a question
Sam.
for you, by the way, so go ahead.
So if you guys take a look at the nest at the very top, far left, as you all know, on April 1st, 2023, we have our champion Howard, who was able to successfully get a FOIA request from the SEC, demonstrating, the communication between FINRA and the SEC. Now, a lot of people have time and time sent FOIA requests to the SEC, and unfortunately, they've all been kind of shut down because to the nature due to a possible investigation that hasn't been officially confirmed. Um, And for those who know or who don't know, MMTLP kind of originated and operated through the OCC and the derivatives chain. Now, there's a different organization that is the CFTC, and they regulate the derivatives market and the options chain. So the idea came from a shareholder by the name of Rocco, and if we keep getting stonewalled with the SEC FOIA requests, then the idea is why not maybe attack a different angle where the SEC doesn't necessarily have jurisdiction over that other federal agency, and perhaps we'd be able to get more information from that organization. So it was just an idea to all the people who have previously submitted FOIA requests, because we've been pretty minimal right now to those who sent to the CFTC. We haven't heard anything back. So we were hoping maybe that by increasing the number of FOIA requests sent to the CFTC, perhaps we'd hear, more information, or maybe we might just get this one person who'd be able to successfully get information from the CFTC.
So I guess Sam, are you gonna ask the same thing that I'm gonna ask in regards of what Gary Gensler said that is made public, the share count?
No, busy. I was going to mention, and I'm sorry, I got my phone died on me. I'm an old fart, and sometimes that kind of stuff escapes me. But to make sure that my phone's working. But I'm glad that Anna brought up the fact that Mick Henry, right out of the gate, almost, mentioned not only the blue sheets and with Gensler not even really pretending like he didn't have a good handle on the blue sheets and what they were and how to get them or have access to them, but he mentioned that Congress has never um, subpoenaed uh, any documents from the SEC, and that was the precursor, I thought. And I don't know if they're talking to one another, but I thought that was beautiful. And I would have found some solace just in that statement alone. And there was another statement that I also and I right now that escapes me. But then when the congressman asked about the audited shares, and Gensler fumbled through that and said, "Oh, it's a matter of public record." Oh my God, the fodder that is out there right now that we can take advantage of, in the crap, in the idiocy that we're put in this situation because the SEC chair does not know what the hell's going on, supposedly, in his own backyard, is ridiculous. But I love the effort, guys, and I really appreciate it. This is a lot better than yesterday, and I'm glad that we're coming together. And let's just, forget about the noise and anything else that's going on. We need to just focus on MMTLP and continue to do the bang up job. And I thank every single member of this community for doing this. And for an old fart like me, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. So I'll go back to you, Edward. Did you catch that when Gary Gensler said that?
Regarding the
Yep.
public
Yep.
record,
So
yeah, yeah,
I got
yeah,
a
yeah.
feeling that there's going to be a lot of FOIA requests, so we got to get Howard on here to get on it too.
Oh, well, let me put it this way. I think that Gary Gensler is definitely not dumb. He knows how to dance around the questions. And, being under oath and testifying in front of the committee, what he said is not necessarily a lie, because the way the question was phrased is, what's the share count, right, for MMTLP? And he's basically telling you, like, well, yeah, the share count is basically what the company issued for the shares. But obviously, that's not the question that we're asking. So that's why I'm hoping that the questions that come from the QFRs are going to be very pointy, straight to the point that there's no room to wiggle around for him to be able to say something around, the answer without giving the answer. Because at that point, then he's going to only perjure himself.
All right, Sam, did you want to respond back before I go to Sean?
No, you're absolutely correct, yeah, Gandalf. That he's very, precise as to what he's answering, how he's answering. He's relying. But I remember attending a trial. I'm an investigator, and I was attending a trial, and the expert witness kept on, uh, kind of like playing that, trying to be smarter than the person that was asking the question, the defense attorney. And at one point, the attorney said to him, "Geez, my God, I feel like I'm in eighth grade again with, the way you're dancing around, and you're not. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm asking for. This has been asked a million times, and you're just playing games." And yes, you could stand behind, that, oh, you're not really telling the truth, or you're really kind of answering the question that's been asked. But geez, he knows by now, by the fact that Anna, was, confronted him in Washington, by the fact that a few weeks ago, Crapo was all over him like, like a, polyester suit from the 70s. I'll tell you, he's dancing and dancing, but he's no Sugar Ray Leonard, that's for sure.
That's a good one. Nice, nice, nice. Sam, if you were done, sir, I'm gonna go to Sean.
Please.
Okay, Sean, are you okay now? You're not roboting?
Yeah, my phone died on me as I was driving home here. What I was trying to say is pay attention to Brian O'Donnell's comment too. The one I put, or Brian Donald's. He called into question We the Investors today, which is Dave Lauer's group, and tried to say that they were astroturfing so-called investors. So just while we're making contact and trying to figure out who's helpful and not helpful, it's very easy to see who Dave Lauer's group and We the Investors are and what they're doing. It's part of the guys that we're trying to take with Retail United as well. But the fact that he turned around and tried to say Gary was, trying to influence investors through We the Investors is a little off putting on my end. So just keep that in mind as we're pushing these reps on either side of the line.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody has a comment for Sean before I move on to Hans, please do so. All right, Swing, you're up next.
I found it very interesting where they discussed Goldman Sachs and Gary used to work for them. And for over a year, I've been looking at all of the level 2 data for all of these tickers that are shorted every day. And Goldman's on the list every single day. Currently, you have 9,800 shares on the bid and on the ask within a fraction of a penny on metamaterials all day. They had good news today. Goldman's still there. So do you think that $6 million fine that they received actually did anything at all? This is what they did with the U3 halt is basically the exact same thing as taking away the buy button on the AMC GameStop situation. It's exactly, except they can't really point the finger at anybody. And Gary is just dancing around the questions, period.
Well, Swing, I don't think that they anticipated us gathering and organizing this much. We've been able to make so much noise. It's just a small community. So honestly, my opinion, I think they're surprised. But no, I do agree. This is the same thing as taking away the buy button. But at least they were released, a day after? I don't know how long it took them to release that. that hold on them. But we've been stuck here for 10 months, and I say it again, we're not going away. We're going to continue on, and if it takes another hearing, and he's going to have to answer about MMTLP, maybe next time it's going to be 2, 3, 4. Maybe it's just going to be a hearing just in regards of MMTLP. But we're definitely going to keep pushing. And again, I don't think that they anticipated us organizing, and organization is the key. We organized. We're a small community here in Twitter, but there's also shareholders that we don't even know about. So just imagine if we could, attract all those shareholders, to come to our community to get them on Twitter. I know there was some groups on Facebook that people were organizing on Facebook, but um, for the sheer amount of shareholders that we have, you heard it from the AMC side, you heard it from the BBIG side, like they're surprised, they're shocked, and they give us kudos. So again, kudos to everyone that is working hard in the background and sending those emails out, contacting the Congress and the senators. Um, Next time it might be you that gets the win for the community. So I'm just appreciative of all the hard work that everybody's doing. With that being said, I am pretty much done. I have to run some errands. Anybody else has? Anybody else want to take a mic and then just come up here and say your piece? I don't see anybody. Anna, you got anything else for us before I leave? I think she's busy. Can you guys hear me? I hope I wasn't talking to myself. Okay, good.
Hear you.
I wonder if I'm
Yep.
glitching or not. All right. So with that being said,
Sorry, Busy. I was putting out a tweet. I just want to thank you for having the space today, and it was, exciting day. I just feel like it's exciting. We've all fought so hard, and I'm really just excited to be here today. So thanks for the space.
I
I'm
wish I could continue on, but
grateful.
6 hours. I've been here since 7. Well, 6:30. So, yeah, it's a long day, but listen, mission accomplished. Pat yourself in the back. I'm patting myself in the back, and everybody in the community should be patting themselves in the back.
Everyone in this community, we have fought
Yep,
so hard to get here,
definitely.
and it's truly a team effort. So I'm grateful to be part of this
Now
team for
you can use
sure.
that video into your arsenal. Put it to work. I did.
There you
Look
go.
out, and guys, I was trying to. I was waiting. Let me check my emails. See if I got. So I don't know if Charles is gonna retweet it. He hasn't contacted me back. I know Frank Ness already quote retweeted it, and then he's writing an article. But please, guys, show him some love. If Frank Ness is gonna take the time and write an article about us, just retweet it, quote retweet it, share it. Show the man some love. Same thing with Charles. And again, I contacted Unusual Whales, so we just wait, right? We'll wait to see if they do it, but if they don't be disappointed. On to the next one. They're just extremely busy. So hopefully, Charles sees my email and he decides to retweet it, comment on it, and that just give us more exposure. That amplifies it, right? And you should be doing the same. Go ahead and retweet, all of these videos and like them and share them and again use them for your arsenal. With that being said, I'm done. Thank you guys and see you on the next one. Much love.
History in the
Yes, sir.
making.